I've been seeing this trend go around where people show what books they think are underhyped, overhyped, and appropriately hyped. Well, I already did a video on books that just kind of disappointed me and I think are overhyped. So today I'm going to do a video about underhyped books. These books are my absolute babies. I love them so much and I do not hear about them enough. I'll have all these books linked down below if you want to check them out. Let's just jump right into it, you guys. If you guys follow me on social media especially, you probably already know that this book is everything to me. I love it so much. And that is The Book Eaters by Sun Yee Dean. This is like a dark fairy tale. This is about a race of people who eat books and they gain access to the knowledge within the books by eating them. So book eaters produce other book eaters, but they also can produce, in some circumstances, mind eaters. And mind eaters are just what you would think. They are like book eaters, how book eaters eat books. They eat people's minds and they gain access to all of their memories, all of their knowledge, all of their personality. When mind eaters are born, they are taken away from their family and they are sent off basically to be essentially like held captive, and they are like taught to work for, I can't exactly remember the name of like the organization, but they basically work for the book eaters that are like higher up, and they're essentially like used as a weapon to keep book eaters in line. Our main characters are Devon and Kai. Devon is the mother of Kai. Devon is a book eater and Kai is a mind eater, and she is trying to hide Kai away so that they don't take him away, but she is finding it very difficult, obviously, to keep Kai alive because the only thing that he can eat are minds, which if he eats somebody's mind, they obviously pass away, so they have to move around a lot, and this book follows them as they try to escape again and again from this institution that's trying to find Kai. I just found this book to be so emotional. So it just shows a mother's love so well. It's heartbreaking, it's suspenseful, and like I said at the beginning, it's almost kind of like a fairy tale almost. It's almost like these book eaters are like following the rules of like a Regency era people, but they are in the modern world. And I think that is what the institution is trying to enforce, that they stay within the rules of like almost like Regency era. So that is a really interesting take too, and I feel like it makes it like very fairy tale-esque. Absolutely love this book. I never shut up about it. It is just my baby. This is one of those books that I picked up from the library because I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it, and I instantly purchased it after bringing it back to the library because I knew that I would want to read this again and annotate it. Next we have Educated by Tara Westover. If you like memoirs, you need to read this. This is a memoir about a woman whose family was survivalists that lived like deep in the mountains of Idaho, and they were homeschooled and they never saw a doctor, they never stepped foot in classrooms, and this just follows her through her life and her childhood and how hard it was for her to live in this way. It's very interesting. It's hard to believe that this is real life. This is actually a memoir and somebody's real story. I do see this once in a while on the internet. I wish this would blow up because it's crazy. Like, if you don't even like memoirs, you should still read this because it almost reads like a fiction. That's how insane her life was. One of my absolute favorite memoirs of this year. Next, we have Weyward by Amelia Hart. This book follows 3 different women in 3 timelines. They're all part of the same family, but in different time periods. We're following Kate in 2019, who has just fled from her abusive boyfriend to go to her great aunt's cottage that her great aunt left to her. Then we're following Violet in 1942, who is actually Kate's great aunt. Violet is trying to fit into societal norms in the 1940s. She doesn't fit in the way that girls are supposed to fit in, and we follow her as she struggles with that, but also struggles with the grief of losing her mother and not ever really getting to know who her mother was. Then in 1619, we're following Alpha, who is being tried as a witch. She witnesses a tragedy and she runs to help the people that are involved, and some of the people involved think that she is the one that actually caused the tragedy to happen, which puts her on trial as a witch. All of these characters obviously are in the same family line, and they all have a very deep-rooted connection with nature. Alpha grew up this way. Her mother was very connected to nature, and she just grew up knowing that this was a part of her and her family and all of the women in her line. And then Violet doesn't know anything about this connection with nature, but she feels it without knowing it. She loves being under her favorite tree. She loves connecting with bugs and creepy crawlies and birds until she finds out who her mother is and what her mother's past looked like. And then Kate, again, obviously, just like Violet, knows nothing about this connection with nature until she reaches her great aunt's cottage and she has some alone time to come back to herself after her abusive relationship. I believe she finds Violet's and Alpha's journal entries, and that's when she recognizes how connected the line of women in her family are to nature. The next one is for all of the theater kids out there. I think that if you're not a theater kid, you will also love this. This is like a great coming of age story, but I feel like specifically if you are a theater kid, you will love this, and that is City of Girls by Elizabeth Gilbert. In this, we are following Vivian in the 1940s. She's 19 years old. She's just dropped out of college because her first year was not very good. She wasn't getting good grades, and her affluent parents are upset, to say the least, and they send her off to New York City to live with her aunt, which they think is a punishment. But Vivian soon realizes that New York is exactly where she wants and needs to be. Her Aunt Peg runs a crazy, flamboyant theater called the Lily Playhouse. Their tickets are cheap. They run the same shows over and over again. It's basically like a playhouse for people that can't afford to go to these crazy Broadway shows. They're essentially just like a local theater that a lot of times has the same patrons. They put on the same shows. They're scrounging for money. But Vivian meets all of these crazy characters when she goes to New York, and eventually Vivian makes a very big mistake which changes the course of her life and her new friendships. I just found this actually very thought-provoking. I loved every single character in this. I felt deeply connected to all of these characters. I could just feel all of the characters' energy just like coming off the page. I just love this so much. This is another one that I will be rereading in the future and definitely annotating. Next is Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. I know that this is a popular Alice Feeney book, but this needs to blow up more. This is the only thriller that completely caught me off guard, and the plot twist had me. I had literally no idea what I was talking about when I was making up theories about what the plot twist was going to be. This is about a couple whose marriage is on the rocks, and the wife wins a trip to this like crazy abandoned church, and they decide that they're going to take this little vacation, and it's going to be the last shebang, and they're going to try and fix their marriage with this little vacation. So they tell themselves that if they can't fix their marriage by the end of this, that they are just going to get a divorce and go their separate ways. When they get to the church, a lot of weird, creepy things start to happen, and they get snowed in. I will say that this wasn't like a 5-star read. It read a little bit slowly at points, but the plot twist alone deserves more hype. I did not see this coming at all. Then we have one that is actually starting to get a little bit more hyped up, and that's Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. Even though it's getting hyped up, I still think that it needs more hype. This is feminine rage to its core. We're following Tasana, who just escaped slavery, and she goes to work for the Orders to try and save the rest of the slaves that she left behind in her homeland, because she knows that they are powerful enough to save the rest of them. She is basically forced into this apprenticeship with Maxentarius, who is this grumpy guy who doesn't really want to work for the Orders anymore. The Orders are kind of forcing him to apprentice Tasana. From there, we have some romantasy happening. The Orders ask Tasana to do something that is a very difficult decision for her, but in the end, she knows that she can save her people if she does it. I just got the second one to this book because the first one was so good. Like I said before, this is like the epitome of feminine rage. Like, if you want a girl who literally will destroy anyone in her path, this is the one for you. And a cute little romance too. So good. I just read this one recently, and that's Dial A for Aunties. This is a rom-com, heavy on the calm part. I just found this to be so hilarious. I was smiling, laughing. The aunties in this are just so freaking funny. In this, we're following Madeline, who is a part of her family's wedding business. So each aunt does something different. So like one aunt does catering, and then Madeline does the photography, and then one aunt does like the hair and makeup. But Madeline accidentally kills her blind date, and she gets her aunties and her mom wrapped up in trying to hide the body while they are in the middle of trying to put on this wedding. This is giving like one of those movies, like in the reading vlog that I did when I read this, I said that this is giving those movies where like really horrendous and bad things are happening, but it's actually like hilarious as it's happening. It's really quick too. It's only 300 pages, less than 300 pages, like 270 pages. And I don't know, this got me out of my book slump. It was just quick and easy and hilarious. Next up, we have Bunny by Mona Awad. This is not for everybody. I will just say that right up front. If you don't like feeling like what the actual hell is going on in your books, don't pick this up. Do not pick this up. If you don't like endings that make you feel like, what? If you don't like books that kind of make you make up your own mind about what was going on, don't pick up this book. I think there is a reason why this book is underhyped, because I think that this is probably not a lot of people's cup of tea. And honestly, I fully understand that. But for the people that can read books that are very open-ended and very strange, you don't know what's going on for probably 90% of the book. You don't know if you are in reality or if you're just in like some made-up dream. This was a very hard book for me to rate because of how open-ended and because of how strange and how much I was just like, what is happening right now? But I decided that I actually really liked that feeling of like not knowing what the heck was going on and kind of like trying to put the pieces together and like kind of make up my own story and like my own theories about what this book was all about. Essentially, in very basic terms. So we're following Samantha, who is at a college, and she is in a writing program, and she's in a cohort with these, I think, 4 other girls who call themselves Bunny, like call each other Bunny. They kind of seem to like move and speak as one. They're kind of like, if you can imagine, like the stereotypical Hollywood version of like the popular girl. Like I just imagine basically like 4 Regina Georges just like moving as one, just like speaking in high-pitched voices, having like the cutesy attitude. Do you know what I mean? That's essentially like the girls in the rest of her cohort, and she is not like that. Her and her best friend always kind of like make fun of the bunnies, and they're like very opposite of the bunnies. But when one day Samantha gets an invitation to basically spend time with the bunnies, she basically drops her best friend to go and hang out with the bunnies. And from there, I couldn't tell you. I mean, I could, but I'm not going to tell you because it's crazy. The lines of reality begin to blur once she starts hanging out with the bunnies. And some crazy, extremely weird things start to happen. And also gross. This book is also very gross. I would look up trigger warnings if you're easily like grossed out or weirded out. Next, we have one that is also for a very particular audience, even though I wish that literally everybody would read this. I think that this book is very popular in like the spiritual community. Go in with an open mind and remember that this is non-fiction. It is not fiction. And that is Journey of Souls by Michael Newton. This book changed my life, you guys. If you didn't know, my husband passed away in 2022, and obviously that was very hard on me and my boys and everything, but this book gave me so much peace during that time, and it still does. I was a very, very spiritual person before my husband passed away also, but this book just solidified everything for me. This book was everything that I needed to help me grieve, to walk me through the grieving process, and to know that there is more to our existence than this earthly plane. If that's a little too woo-woo for you, then you can just skip right ahead to the last book. But this is a nonfiction book, like I said, and it was written by Dr. Michael Newton, who is a between lives regressionist, which is basically someone who can put you under hypnosis to bring you to the space that is in between our lives. So this is like a few different accounts of people that he regressed, and all of their stories are eerily similar. Everyone that he puts under has the same experience. If you are at all interested in what happens after death, read this. I beg you, read this and go in with an open mind. So these are word for word transcripts of the people that he regresses, speaking back and forth with them as they are in the moment, learning about how they got here, what their past lives looked like, what they came here to do. And last but not least, in the slightest, is Legendborn and Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn. These do get some popularity, but not nearly enough. In this, we're following 16-year-old Bree as she goes to an early college program. There, she discovers this secret society that is hunting down and killing these creatures that she saw on her first night at campus. From there, she is swept up in this secret society. She thinks that she can learn something about her mother's death through this secret society, and so she pledges herself to the society, not knowing that this would absolutely change the trajectory of her life and everything that she knew. This is also a Arthur Knights of the Round Table retelling. This has magic. It talks a lot about colonialism. This has heritage, generational trauma in a way. This is just a lot deeper than just a little fantasy, in my opinion. And the romance in this eats. It eats. Okay? And that is it, guys. Those are my underhyped books that you should definitely pick up if they sounded interesting, because you will probably love them. If you guys enjoyed this video, I would love it if you would subscribe and go watch more of my videos. I'm going to be trying to do 2 videos per week in December, so as long as I don't get super burnt out, you will be seeing a little bit more of me. Really, I'm hoping that I can continue this on into 2025, but December is my testing period. I am very busy as as a mom of two, so I'm not going to be burning myself out for this, but also I do love to yap about books. So all of the books in this video are going to be linked down below, and also some of my favorite books. And that's it, guys. I will see you in my next video. Bye!